Hello everyone, welcome back to the Martial Arts Show. I'm with Kim Macrae, 5th Dan Taekwondo Instructor from rural New South Wales, and this is the second part of the interview. So Kim, we talked a lot about in the first video about the background of martial arts, your background, and then we started talking about the integration of other systems and schools, and then the advantages of that. So what I want to direct our next focus to is people that you've trained with might be worth a mention. I can remember as a young fellow having Stan the Man Longanides come and train with us, and we were fortunate enough to go to one of his events. He got beaten at that one, but that's okay. I got an interview with his competitor in the elevator, so I was quite stoked. But can you tell us a little bit about Stan and anyone else you think's worth mentioning?
Yeah, okay, Andrew, thank you. Well, look, yeah, I have interacted with some very cool martial artists over the years. And Stan the Man was certainly one of the highlights. At that point in time, Stan was the super heavyweight champion of the world, I think, and kickboxing champion. And I can't even think of the name. You know the guy, a tall black man from
Maurice the Mean Machine Smith.
Maurice Smith, that's correct. And Maurice was a lovely man. I actually ran into him in the lift, and a more dignified, better spoken individual. I haven't, you know, he was very lovely. He was lovely. He was calm. He was quiet. He was very respectful, very decent. It was a great fight. Stan didn't win, as you said. I think it went the distance from memory, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, Stan and I, had a connection, and he came out to Dubbo, as you remember at that point in time. If you were training then, I think you were, weren't you?
Yeah.
We had a huge club, a lot of students. We had some great fighters. Andrew Welch was coming through the ranks then and fighting Korshiki and doing very well. And he was his wife Catherine, his wife at that time, Catherine. They both became world champions, Australian champions for a number of years, and world champions. Excellent in forms and fighting. Kumite, as they call it in the Japanese systems. Mm. So at that point in time, I guess the reason Stan and I became good friends is because we were doing a lot of travelling at that point in time. Andrew, myself, and Catherine and others going around and fighting in different systems, getting experience. Andrew became, I think he was ranked second or third in Australia kickboxing at one time. He was certainly ranked number one in Australia and the world in Korshiki heavyweight. So Andrew Welch was one of the prime students. His wife Catherine. People like Nigel Macrae, who was still training a lot, and I think he's a 7th or 8th Dan in Korshiki. Mm-hmm. He did a first Dan with Free Taekwondo with me, and then went off and did all sorts of other systems, and he became, I think, the director of Korshiki in the South Pacific region for a number of years, and was a very important part of the Korshiki team, Kashiki Korshiki, which is a very big Japanese system, a hard contact system. There were lots of interesting people. My very first black belt was a guy called Lee Hermanson in Broken Hill. So my first big club was in Broken Hill. I was a high school teacher there for 4 years. This is way back in the late 70s, very early 80s. Lee Hermanson became a world figure on the International Taekwondo Federation tournament circuit. Very strong, very powerful, quick, great form. And Lee is still competing. I think he won in Argentina a year or so ago. And I laugh because, unfortunately, Lee had a very severe stroke years before that, but he came back. He's such a determined man. So there are just some of them, and there are some very interesting people that I met locally here too. People like Darren Jordan, who still teaches. He was a Budokan man who became Kyokushin. Kevin Blundell, who has built a big system, human room. I think he has 30 or 40 different centres, big commercial centres. Kevin Blundell. I first met, he was travelling to Bourke from memory.
Okay, wow.
He was not Budokan, he was, look, I can't think of the name of the system that he was training then in Orange. But yeah, there's been a number of people that I've interacted with over the years who become recognised figures worldwide. Stan obviously was Yeah, so my journey's been interesting. I've been lucky to interact with these sorts of people. I've certainly learned vast amounts just watching them. And then I've trained with people like Benny the Jet, Bill Wallace. They were two that really stood out in my mind in the 80s and 90s because they were just such powerful figures, such interesting figures, such great teachers.
Okay. No, that's fascinating. Now just looking more to where you are now, what have you found, if we reflect back from when you started teaching to now, what were your biggest challenges?
Gee, Andrew, I'm not sure how to answer that one. Challenges, look, I guess the one that just hits my mind immediately is the personal challenge of how I had some bone diseases when I was young. I had a thing called Sherman's disease, which bent my spine and sort of did a lot of damage to my hips. So really pain was the challenge. But I guess the reason I brought that up is because the comment I'll make is that I felt fairly soon on, while there were times, in all honesty, where I felt sorry for myself, like, why do I have to have this? I think that in my experience, personal experience and observational experiences, that those sort of challenges either defeat you or make you stronger. And I mentioned Bill Wallace. Now, if people know Bill Wallace, and it's a long time since Bill was a powerful figure on the tournament circuit, but Bill Wallace started off as a football athlete and he had a damaged knee. Couldn't play football anymore. I think he was playing college football or whatever. So he went to karate and he became a brilliant competitor. It was called Bill Superfoot Wallace because he could kick you from any angle with whichever foot it was that he used. I think it was his left.
Yeah, right.
The other one he couldn't kick with because he had a injured knee. But Bill's point was that if you've got a challenge, if you've got some sort of a handicap, it will make it your strength.
Yeah.
And he did that. So he couldn't kick with the other leg, but he made it. He could do anything with this one leg.
Yeah.
And so the pain that I had, the restrictions I had from pain in my hips and all that sort of stuff, made me much more determined to overcome. And I mean, I did and I didn't. But the thing was, it made me much more determined. It made me more disciplined. I was actually a fairly undisciplined individual when I started training. I'd just grown up on a farm. So yeah, the challenge that I had was personal injury and pain, but I made it my strength. Yeah, that's certainly the advice I would give to any other aspiring people. You know, as an instructor, Andrew, that we see so many people who are talented. They may be really coordinated. They might be really fit. They might be really well built. But very often, they'll find things very easy, so they don't develop the discipline to persevere.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So then, on the flip side, what are some of the biggest achievements you've had in your time in martial arts?
Well, Andrew, I suppose there is helping other people who are challenged, who have various challenges, to achieve their best. Really, I think that's what I would nominate as my biggest achievements.
Yeah.
I've been lucky to help develop some people who've gone on to, beat the world, like Nigel and like Andrew Welch and so on, and I still interact with those people. Yeah. And there's been many other people. I haven't counted how many people I've trained to black belt and beyond. But there's certainly in the hundreds. And obviously, as you know, that you have to have a lot of students to get that many black belts through. Yeah. I must mention a young lady called Kim Housden, who is actually one of Andrew Welch's students, but I've had a lot to do with her development and training as well. And she runs an absolutely stunning club in Dubbo. You may be aware of that. She's got many very strong black belts. They're a traditional style, but they're extremely good. Yeah. She's also had a lot of time, a lot of competition in caution. She's won Australian Forbes titles and community titles and so on. So I guess my biggest achievements, Andrew, are just in the people that I've helped on their journeys.
Yeah. Oh, very good. What do you see as the future for martial arts in general?
Well, Andrew, it's look, I'm honestly very near to retirement. In fact, I'm looking at retiring in the next 12 months or so. I mean, I won't pull out. I'm 65 very soon, and I'm going to use it as a little bit of I'm currently grooming a young man to take over the Sabak Club. As you're probably aware, it's been Sabak Taekwondo, and I just worked there and the chief examiner. That's been, I think, gig for the last, my martial arts gig for about the last 6 or 7 years. We've got some great young students, but there's a young man who he's actually trained in other systems. He came to me as a black belt from another very well-respected system, karate system, and he wanted to change. But so I'm grooming him currently to take over from me. But look, so I'm a tiny figure in all reality nowadays on the world stage, Andrew, a minuscule figure. It's such a huge industry. It's such a huge thing. It's such a diverse industry, as you know. There are so many styles, so many awesome styles, and so many brilliant people out there.
Yeah.
But I think the martial arts certainly aren't going to go away.
No.
They're a fundamental part of human existence. They're a wonderful thing for physical fitness, for spiritual training, for for societal training.
Yeah.
It's certainly become much broader, it's evolved spectacularly, the martial arts have over the last 40 years during the time that I've been observing, haven't they?
Yeah, no, definitely.
To the UFC and then...
Yeah. Well,
well,
that sort of brings...
that have been taken up.
Sorry, that sort of brings me into the next question is, how have you found this huge... I'm reluctant to use the word juggernaut, but this huge the system of MMA, and how have you found it influencing the average martial arts club?
Yeah, that's a good question, Andrew. Look, I personally like to look at... Look, these days, I just teach a small suburban club. Over the last few years, I have had some good competitors, but we've been competing in some great competitors. In fact, but we've been competing in fairly mid-range, I guess you would call them, systems where we're not teaching kickboxing, we're not teaching MMA. That said, one of my most recent successful students is now fighting in MMA. But look, the significance, I think, of it is that it's been great because it shows how many different styles can be really effective in a real fight situation. If you want to call it that. It's still not a life or death situation, is it? Because there are rules. But the thing that excites me most about MMA, I guess, is that it's so broad. There are so many different sorts of techniques. You've got your strikers and your grapplers and all that sort of stuff, as you know in general. But even then, different systems can be strong, but it's about the individual, it's about the training and all that sort of thing. So I love to look at it and go, well, I love to watch and see the techniques that really work.
Yes.
And there are lots of them. You get your punches, you get your kickers, you get your spectacular kickers, that if they're good enough and well trained enough, they can all be effective. I find that really exciting, and I still refer to that a lot when I'm teaching. I'm saying, well, this particular kick, for example, is the third most common knockout, for example.
I
think it's great, Andrew.
No, it is good, and I personally was a little bit hesitant. It took me a while to warm up to MMA, but then once I started realising that some serious competitors in the MMA system, some really world-class athletes, have basic martial arts backgrounds, don't they? There's Taekwondo people, there's karate people, there's your Hapkido, Aikido, all that sort of stuff. They all come from those original systems. So I found that was an interesting point that not everyone was aware of.
Absolutely, Andrew. There are some that just specialise, but yes, that's correct. I totally agree with that point. It's reassuring, it's motivating that yes, and it's one of the points that I've always made to the fighters, the competitors that I've influenced. I mean, some of them just want to get in and do the kicking and punching and hit the bag, spar, etc. And I've always been, well, look, if you're going to train with me, I recommend big time that you also learn some of the basic forms and some of the basic procedures, because they provide such good foundations.
Yes.
And they do, yes, as you say, some of the very best competitors and most spectacular have at least some background, because it gives them It gives them a
Yeah,
career.
yeah. Okay, well, just to finish off, it's a pretty simple question. What does the future hold for Kim Macrae?
Well, Andrew, quite honestly, as I said, I'm looking at retiring basically from regular teaching, and you know, interesting that's been forced on me right at the moment, because as you know, here we are in lockdown. That's why we're speaking to each other this way. But I have been thinking about doing less active classes. I'm still was teaching 3 or 4 classes a week, pretty active. Plus other physical training I do with Beaky training and so on. So I'm quite keen now to put. I still train. I won't stop training. But teaching as much face to face, I do want to decrease some of that, because I'm actually currently sitting in my music studio. I've also been a musician for the last 35 years. Had a break during my early martial art years. And I'm keen to put more time into that. I am putting more time into that. So basically, Andrew, I just want to apportion my time a little bit more differently.
Yeah.
I'm not retiring completely, but I'm certainly planning to teach less martial arts directly and put more time into other pursuits. But I'd like to think of myself. I do like to think of myself as a bit of the old style warrior poet. So I think I'm just following. I know that a lot of martial artists are also musicians or poets. You know, the warrior poet sort of thing. So. But obviously I do believe that's an ideal to pursue intellectual things or pursue other cultural pursuits. So at the same time, I'm just going to put a little more time to those other things for the future.
And just before signing off, Kim Jong-un, dead or alive? What do you reckon?
Who?
Yeah, the North Korean leader. The North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un.
No, Andrew, I honestly don't know. It doesn't look good for him, does it?
No. We mightn't go into that too much. I don't know if the North Koreans are watching the show, so we don't want to upset anyone. But it's a very.
I think that's a good idea. I think we just go. Look, we don't know. We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see. Yeah, that's right. Excellent. Well, thanks, Kim, for joining the Martial Arts Show and being part of the program. And finish up now, and we're going to thank Kim Macrae for his time and being part of the Martial Arts Show. So we'll have some links on our page where you can find out a bit more about Kim and some of the programs he's involved in. And remember, guys, hit that subscribe button, give us your feedback, and we're also after other martial arts instructors might have a bit of a story to tell. We've had a lot of influence from Taekwondo, so it'd be great to hear from some of the other systems as well. So thanks everyone for joining us. Excellent. Thanks, mate.